Tonight, Impact presents another edition of Impact Wrestling on AXS TV. Of course, this episode of Impact was taped last week during the mammoth, gargantuan TV tapings that took place at Skyway Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. What's, of course, interesting as we go through this preview for the show, what, of course, is very interesting, is all of these reports we've seen over the last week or so about Impact taping multiple outcomes of matches, of promos, of segments, because obviously we know that quite a few Impact Wrestling wrestlers, their contracts are expiring in the next couple of months or so, whether it's in the end of this month, at the end of December, or the first quarter of 2021. We know lots of talent contracts are set to expire, therefore Impact has taped a plethora of different outcomes for storylines, matches, promos, etc. So it's going to be interesting what we see tonight, because every single episode of Impact Wrestling, of course, is going to give us a better indication as to the future for all of these wrestlers. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. So there's been a lot, as always, that's been announced for tonight's show, but we're going to talk about, and we're going to start off with, and what this preview is really going to talk about, is Chris Bey versus Willie Mack. Now, over the last few weeks, Chris Bey's got under the skin of current Impact World Champion Rich Swann. Over the last several weeks, Bey has pushed and pleaded for a World Championship opportunity, but Rich Swann has stood by the notion that opportunities have to be earned. You can't just ask for them. But tonight on Impact, Bey steps into the ring with, of course, Rich Swann's best friend. In many cases, once you get through Willie Mack, you might get to Rich Swann. It's happened in the case of Eric Young. It looks like it's happened in the case of Moose. We'll touch on that in a second. So if Chris Bey defeats Willie Mack tonight, will he have done enough to prove to Rich Swann that he's worthy of a World Championship opportunity? Now, to me, this is inevitable. Chris Bey, I think, is, and if they've already taped Final Resolution, which I think they have, I think Chris Bey is going to face Rich Swann at Final Resolution. That looks to me like the situation that they're going in. I think that Rich Swann's next feud, next opponent, is going to be Chris Bey. I think it's filler, though, and there's no doubt in my mind, Rich Swann versus Chris Bey, that's going to be a fantastic match. That is going to be off the charts. That some people might question, oh, is that more belonging in the X Division? You know, throw away those opinions. That's so outdated and dinosaur thinking. Chris Bey versus Rich Swann, that is money. Give those guys 30 minutes in a pay-per-view or a streaming, Impact Plus main event. That is money. That could be absolutely spectacular, and I have no doubt in my mind that is spectacular. That, to me, is the right thing to do with someone like Chris Bey. He has all the talent in the world. I questioned why he lost the X Division Championship so soon after he won it at Slammiversary. Of course, Chris Bey defeated Willie Mack at Slammiversary to win the X Division Championship, and I thought he was going to be on this big, long championship reign, and it didn't happen. He lost the title very quickly. It was at Impact Emergence, lost the title to Rohit Raju in a match against TJP and Raju in the match. And at the time, I was really confused. Why has Chris Bey dropped the title so quickly? Do they have other plans? It looks like they might have other plans for him, in the sense that he's going to be feuding with Rich Swann for the World Championship over the next few weeks. That will be great. That will be great. I'm excited to see that match. Looks like it's going to happen. And Chris Bey and Willie Mack, I mean, what more needs to be said? They had two matches this year that were just off the charts. I thought the match they had at Slammiversary, if it wasn't for Jordan Grace versus Gianna Perazzo, I think that match would have stole the show. Chris Bey and Willie Mack was phenomenal. I actually felt that their follow-up match on Impact, I think, was it the following episode on Impact? They had a rematch for the X Division Championship. I thought that was even better. These two guys have phenomenal chemistry. They have absolutely tremendous chemistry in the ring. So I'm really excited for this match. I think it's an excellent TV main event. But regardless, like I said, given the seeds that they've been planting the last few weeks on Impact, on the TV show, it looks very obvious we're going to get Chris Bey versus Rich Swann very soon. I think that will happen at Final Resolution, which is on December 12th, so less than 2 weeks' time. I think we're going to get Chris Bey versus Rich Swann. I don't think Chris Bey is going to win that match. Nevertheless, it's good to elevate and get Chris Bey into that main event position, because eventually he can be a world champion in Impact Wrestling. And of course, Chris Bey is getting all of this exposure. He's in the Best of the Super Juniors. Is he in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, New Japan tournament? Regardless, he's getting a lot of exposure and a lot of hype at the moment. So he's absolutely right to being put in that main event position. So great TV main event between Willie Mack and Chris Bey. Really excited for it. I think Chris Bey wins, and I think he goes on to face Rich Swann. I think that would be at Final Resolution. But a lot of people then would be saying, well, what's the case for Hard to Kill? Is it not Chris Bey versus Rich Swann at Hard to Kill? I still think, in my mind, that the main event for Hard to Kill will be Rich Swann versus Moose. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any reports to say that that is the case. I'm just trying to read as I said, the seeds that they've been planting. I'm trying to read the tea leaves here and try and see what they've been kind of implying is going to happen in the future. You have to remember that Impact kind of has two plans going on at once. They have these sort of month-to-month TV special plans where they have these filler feuds like Chris Bey versus Rich Swann, or Rich Swann versus Sami Callihan that they had at Turning Point, but they have an overarching story which they're trying to tell, which in this case I think is Moose versus Rich Swann. We've seen them plant the seeds a couple of times. We saw Moose feud with Willie Mack because of that. As I mentioned, when you go through Willie Mack, you eventually get to Rich Swann. That's what I think Moose has done over the last few weeks, hence why I think we're going to get Moose versus Rich Swann at Hard to Kill. I could be wrong. I wouldn't be totally against Chris Bey versus Rich Swann at Hard to Kill. I just don't think it happens. I think most likely it's Chris Bey versus Rich Swann at Final Resolution. So excellent TV main event tonight. So what else have we got announced that's been announced for Impact tonight? Let's go through this quickly. Of course, we've got the Knockouts Tag Team Title Tournament. We've got Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle going up against Jordynne Grace, and of course her mystery tag team partner was revealed last week to be Jazz. This is going to be really exciting because you've got, obviously, Jazz returning. A lot of people might not have seen her being Jordynne Grace's tag team partner. I know that I did mention Jazz as a name when I did that video, but I didn't think it was going to be her because she had retired. But this is essentially Jazz's retirement tour. Jazz wanted to do a retirement tour this year. Obviously, she retired. She vacated the NWA World Women's Championship. Was that last year? Due to injuries, mental, physical, emotional issues going on at the time. She said that she just couldn't keep up with that schedule anymore and it was time to retire. She wanted to do a retirement tour this year, have a few matches, do some select dates. Of course, that was cancelled and due to the pandemic, so she thought, well, that's it, I'm just going to retire. Now this opportunity has presented itself and she's going to team with Jordynne Grace. Again, it wasn't many dates, so it's hardly like she's working all of these weeks. This was all filmed in the block of a couple of days. I'm going to stick with the video I did when I spoke about Jazz being revealed as Jordynne Grace's tag team partner last week, in that I think Jazz and Jordynne Grace will get to the finals of the Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament, but I don't think they'll win. Now, I'm going to stick with that tonight. Therefore, I say that Jordynne Grace and Jazz will defeat Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle tonight on Impact. Really excited, though, to see more of Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle. I really hope they stick around. We've mentioned, I know I have spoken about, I sound like a broken record at this point, but we know the people that might be going out of the door at the end of the year when it comes to Impact Wrestling. Therefore, it's really important to bring names in. Bringing names in like Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle is vital. You're establishing a second championship in the Knockouts division, that being the Knockouts Tag Team Championship. Therefore, you need to bring in more talent. We know that Impact Wrestling, they're doubling down on the Knockouts division because it's so strong. It's the cornerstone of the show. They've invested so much time, so much money, and just so much effort into this Knockouts division, and they're finally reaping the rewards of it. It's one of the best female divisions in the world. It rivals WWE, and it certainly blows AEW's out of the water. So I really hope that Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle stick around. I don't think they'll win this match tonight. I think Jordynne Grace and Jazz are going to get to the finals. So I hope this isn't a one and done thing. I hope they stay around, particularly Killer Kelly. We know what she can do. We know her potential. She can be a Knockouts champion. She really can. So hopefully this is just the start for them. But I think Jordynne Grace and Jazz win that match tonight. Another match we have announced is Triple XL versus the Motor City Machine Guns. The Motor City Machine Guns, they're back in action already. It's amazing because Alex Shelley was taken out at Bound for Glory, which was in October, and he's already back returning to action. So he was out for about a month or so, if that, which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible considering that it was a neck injury. There was talk that he was going to be out 2-3 months. He was going to be out until January, or maybe return at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, and suddenly he's back. Chris Sabin had the detour with teaming with James Storm at Turning Point, but Alex Shelley's back, and that's awesome. The world is better when the Motor City Machine Guns are healthy and cleared to compete in Impact Wrestling. So I'm absolutely really excited to see Alex Shelley return tonight. Of course, there's a lot going on with Triple XL. right now, because Larry D has a lot on his mind when he, of course, admitted last week that he was the one who shot Johnny Bravo in Wrestler's Court. So I think there's going to be shenanigans in this match. Obviously, I think the Machine Guns will win. Obviously, they're paying off the rivalry that was on the post-Bound for Glory episode of Impact Wrestling when Triple XL attacked Alex Shelley, and that was the way to officially write him off of TV for the neck injury. But now they're trying to tie up that story, but I think the main story actually is going to be Larry D being the one that shot down Johnny Bravo. So I think there's going to be some form of a run-in by Johnny Bravo. Maybe, I don't know, Taya Valkyrie or Rosemary, they get involved. Maybe Tommy Dreamer gets involved since he's the judge. I don't know. Or he was the prosecutor. I don't know. I just think that maybe we see this alter ego of Larry D, right? Last week, we confessed to shooting Johnny Bravo when Tommy Dreamer gave him, was it that potion or whatever that made him confess? Maybe we see more of that. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a straight-up tag match. I put it that way. I think there's going to be shenanigans. There is going to be something bizarre or strange that happens. So I'm excited to see that. Of course, we also have a championship on the line tonight. We have the X Division Championship on the line as Rohit Raju defends against Crazy Steve, because last week Raju thought he was finished with TJP, but in another Defeat Rohit challenge, Rohit was sure that TJP was hiding underneath the Suicide mask. He was facing Suicide last week in an attempt to get another shot at the X Division Championship. But when TJP then appeared on the ramp during the non-title contest, this distraction allowed Suicide to pin the Desi Hitman. Moments later, Suicide then unmasked and revealed it was Crazy Steve. Therefore, he has earned an X Division Championship match tonight. Now, I don't think we're going to get a title change. I think this might sound a bit iffy, but we know that Crazy Steve is actually dealing with quite a lot of sight issues. I think he has glaucoma or something like that. Legitimately, he is legally blind. So the fact that he's legally blind and still able to work in the ring is crazy enough. But then last week he was working under a mask, which can sometimes impede your vision as well. So credit to Crazy Steve. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, there you go. There's the pun. It's absolutely crazy and amazing he was able to work through that last week. Again, do I think we're going to have an X Division Championship change tonight? No, I really don't. I am concerned about the X Division. I am, because I've been quite critical at points over the last sort of 6 months or so about the X Division, saying that I think it needs more talent. I think it needs to go back to what it used to be back in the day, and made it so famous in the fact that you had people of all shapes and sizes, and you had true stars in the X Division. I think it's lost that. It does feel like there is a limited group of people in the X Division right now, considering that Chris Bey seems to have moved off into the main event scene, and you've got Rich Swann also being a main event level talent. You've also got Ace Austin. He's doing his singles things up the card now, and it just feels like there is a lack of depth in the X Division right now, and I'm not sure how to address that, either than to bring the former champions back in, whether that is Chris Bey, Ace Austin, or eventually Rich Swann, or bring in more talent. I think that's the way to do it. Whether it's Willie Mack getting back involved in the X Division, something does seem to be missing, and that's not reflective on Rohit Raju. I think he's doing actually a very good job, but it does feel like the X Division's importance has kind of subsided slightly over the last couple of months, and I want to see it get back to what it was. I want to see it get back to a hybrid of styles, a hybrid of high-flying styles, mat wrestling, brawling, again, people of all shapes and sizes. I want to see someone near 300 pounds wrestle for the X Division Championship as well. I want to see all of that, because I think that's what's made the X Division so great over the years, and it does feel like we've kind of lost it a little bit. So hopefully we get that back. As I mentioned, are we going to see a title change tonight? Absolutely not. We're just not. But I'm excited to see any title match on TV, and hopefully they can rebuild the X Division, but it does seem like a bit of an issue at the moment on Impact every single week. And finally, we have Johnny Swinger in action. Yes, the Swingman's in action against Cody Deaner. Now, of course, last week in Wrestler's Court, we learned that Johnny Swinger was not Johnny Bravo's shooter, despite the Deaners discovering a gun in his fanny pack, which was at Turning Point. Now, Swinger is out for revenge as he battles the man who stooged on him, Cody Deaner. Meanwhile, Deaner is looking to avenge his loss to Swinger that haunted him in recent weeks. This is, I mean, Johnny Swinger to me is such a guilty pleasure. I am a fan. I love the gimmick. And something that Impact does really well is comedy. We criticize WWE for their really bad comedy. AEW does comedy fairly well. It's a different kind of comedy and it's to a different audience. I think the Impact and AEW audiences are actually quite different, especially in terms of the type of wrestling and the type of comedy and the type of entertainment, quite frankly, they do. I think it's actually very different. I think they're quite different audience bases there. But what Impact does do really well is comedy, and it's evident. Wrestle House was comedy, but it was a story, and it was great. The Johnny Bravo and Rosemary wedding, it was the whole build up to that was comedy, but it was a story, and it was great. Wrestlers Court last week, it was great. The whole investigation into who shot Johnny Bravo was great. Impact does comedy really, really well. Some people may say it's too much. Some people might say it's slightly over the top. That's the point. Like when you had it a couple of weeks ago and the cold open was Scott D'Amore with Johnny Bravo by his bed and he was in a coma. Instead of having the machine to measure his heartbeat, it was a coat rack. You know, it's just stuff like that. It's very subtle, it's very dry, but it's funny and it's a guilty pleasure of mine, and Johnny Swinger is a big part of that, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the hell out of it. Impact knows it's not going to compete with AEW and WWE on certain levels, but what they can do is they can make themselves different. They can make themselves unique. They've got a niche audience. They've got an underground sort of cult following of people that like their product, and their comedy is a big part of that. And Johnny Swinger, he's there in front and center with that. So I'm excited for where they go next. As I mentioned, we had Wrestle House. We had the Johnny Bravo Rosemary wedding build-up. We had the wedding itself. We had the investigation by Tommy Dreamer. We had Wrestlers Court. So what is next? What is next, right? How can Impact top themselves this time? So I'm very, very excited for it. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling? What are you looking forward to the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys and chatting about Impact Wrestling here on the channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.